Let's SPSFC it up this month. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the start of, the video will be the SPSFC vlog of October 2023, but it is a start right now. So it is 12:35 p.m. on Saturday the 7th of October. We are starting this vlog. It'll run for about 10 days, and I'm hoping to get 3 books in this reading vlog, but we'll see. None of my SPSFC reads come on audio, but 2 are under 400 pages, so hopefully we'll be able to get the 3 in the 10 days, but at the 17th, I really have to crack on with some arcs, so I've bitten off way more than I can chew this month. No one is shocked at this point. So the books I'll be reading for this vlog are Wixen's Day by Phil Williams. I also have Three Rivers Plague by Zachary Forbes, and I'm so sorry to the other brother. I think it's Zachary and Joshua Forbes who wrote that one, and also Icebreaker by Stephen William Hanna. Now, if I get time, if I am on the ball with reading goals, I may be able to fit in a 4th, which is Eclipse by Herman Struenagel, which is one I've just added in because I've been wanting to read it since release, and book 2 comes out in October. I just filmed the indie releases of October 2023, saw that book 2 is out, and was like, I really have to read book 1, and that happens to be an Epic Indies pile as well. So I said, if no one's reading it, I'll put my hand up and I'll also read that one. Got a couple of really promising books happening this month. So I have started Wixen's Day by Phil Williams. I'm about 20% into it at the moment. I don't really know how I feel about it at this stage. Like, it's fine. We're following Marcos, who is a young lad who basically wants to travel the world. He doesn't really want to have a family, settle down. He's on his ship, which is rickety and old, but it does him for what he needs. And he's come from the mines where he's rescued a little girl called Red, and he's trying to take this little girl back to her family. And we have stopped a few parts on the way. The plot has just sort of thickened a little bit in the 20% mark, but I'm not really sure how I feel overall. I feel like it's quite telly, not showy at this stage, but at the same time, it's super easy to follow. Very light sci-fi read, which is, enjoyable enough for what it is. So that is the first book. I'll finish that one. I'm actually hoping to finish that one before the end of the weekend, so fingers crossed we can do that before the end of tomorrow, but we'll see how we go, and starting on with one of the others. The thing is, with these competitions, is I don't want to read these books too fast. I want to give them my full attention. I want to finish each book that I'm reading so I can at least review all those books properly without sort of skimming on it for the author. There's 300 people that put their names up for these things, and I want to make sure that, even if they don't go forward to the next stage of the competition, I'm doing the author justice for what they've put in. Because these books come to us for free, essentially. As we're volunteering our time for this competition, they give us the books. They provide the books. So I will provide as much of an in-depth review as I can on all the platforms for each and every one of these. Other things happening this week is I'm house sitting for a friend of mine. Her brother is in town from Canada, so they're going away for a week and I'll be there. Rachel will be staying here. So I really don't have much else to do other than work and read and probably play Dave the Diver, which I'm apparently obsessed with, even though I hate the ocean. Who knows? But yes, that's what's going on in the vlog. I will catch you with more updates on Wixen's Day soon, at some point in the future. Okay, bye. Good morning. It is 5:30 a.m. on Sunday. I have an author interview with C.L. Jarvis in like half an hour. I'm really excited about this one. I think that anytime a genre blend happens in fantasy, I'm all for it, and it's always feels unique after reading so many, coming of age classic fantasy stories. Having something a little bit different is always exciting, and this is the earliest interview I've ever done. Fred's coordination is not there this morning. That's okay. We all have our days. Where did the last couple of days go? So it's Monday. It is 4:15 p.m. on Monday the 9th. I filmed a whole bunch of stuff yesterday, and then the files were all corrupted. So like I only found out after trying to edit something for an hour and a half. It's unfortunate, but you know, it happens in this world. Also, the place that I'm staying in is very bare. They're about to move. I'm just here for a week while cat sitting while they're away, and then they like move the day they get back. So it's just me and some like white walls. Ironically, a situation I've been in before, but that's for another time. So I'll give you a bit of a reading update on Wixon's Day. I guess I am at about 70% of the way through. I was hoping to finish it today, but I have not done a writing sprint today because I was refilming the community update this morning before I went to work, so I just haven't had time to read. And I may not have time to read tonight because I have a quota that I want to get to and time with writing that I want to get to try and stick to it to make my goal for the year. So, Wixon's Day by Phil Williams. I'm feeling pretty similar to the last update, to be completely honest with you. It's easy enough to read, it's easy enough to follow, it's enjoyable for what it is, but I'm not thinking about it when I put it down. So we're still following Marcos and Red, so he's trying to get this little girl back to her family by going north and going to a place called the Meth Fields. As he goes through, he's sort of realizing that there's some sinister plots afoot, and he's suddenly part of something much bigger than what he initially thought. So I'm not going to give too much away in terms of spoilers. I will write a full review for this one, but he gets involved with like the Khand or the Cand, however you want to pronounce it, and they're now trying to go even further north to see what's happening to these kids. So like a more sinister plot in relation to where Red has come from in the mines. So Marcos did some work in the mines and sort of realized that these kids were being treated incredibly poorly and wanted to try and save one. It just got to the point where he couldn't do it anymore and he had to save Red and get her out of there. But they're now uncovering that maybe this is more common than they thought as they travel north. And there's like some exciting stuff in there, like bandits are happening and battles, and it sort of feels a little bit like a video game how we're coming across bandits at like different opportunities and they seem to like level up. Marcos is sort of finding his feet and finding himself and where his limitations are, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I'm not really sure where it's going to end up, but I know there are another 2 books in the series, so I'm sort of curious to see where it does end up. But I've not really read anything else. I have gotten to, I would say, 60% of Valor by John Gwynne. Very similar thoughts to book 1. It still feels very build-up-y, but we've now like gone with the little groups who have branched off from the end of book 1, and they're sort of going through their own growing phases. I have heard from a few people that books 1 and book 2 are the weaker entries into the series, and that being said, I'm still having a really good time with it. Very much enjoying following along where this is going, and keen to see, you know, when it kicks off, because I hear books 3 and 4 are incredible. So yeah, enjoying what I'm reading. Hopefully I'll finish Wixon's Day tonight or tomorrow. It'll probably be tomorrow, and then we'll start Icebreaker. I'll show you what I picked up from the grocery store later, if that's entertaining to anyone. I went to an Asian grocery store because I love it there, and I got some snacks, and I'll show you that in a bit. I am 100% going to be living my best student life this week. I just looked at all these snacks that I bought, and it's just chips and noodles, like chips and ramen, I guess, wherever you're from, and a tub of chili oil with peanuts and tofu in it to add to the ramen, and cereal. You can judge it for yourself. Judge heavily. I did. Good morning, it's Tuesday morning. I think it's about 7:30. I've been to the gym. I went and bought some fresh fruit. There's a local produce place close by, and I love buying local produce. It tastes so much better than whatever the supermarkets get in. It's like direct from farms. It's amazing. Pay a couple of extra bucks, delicious fruit and veg. I finished Wixon's Day by Phil Williams. It did sort of come together at the end. It gave me one of those feelings at the end where I'm like, okay, that was fairly satisfying. Even though the execution of the whole book didn't necessarily work for me, I'm not sure if this is a debut, and I'm still sitting around that 3-star mark, but I can certainly see in that last 10% where the author was trying to go. There are some really good messages in this book about how one person can make a difference, even if you don't think that you can, and I think that was the thematic that the author was trying to portray throughout the whole book, but it sort of got a little bit lost in translation, in my opinion. But the essence was there, and there were some heartwarming moments with Red towards the end of the book, given to what had transpired throughout the whole thing. But that message of, sitting back on our asses and not getting involved in causes that could really use that extra voice does make a difference. Your voice does make a difference. The plot got more complicated from the first essence of the story, and Marcos was suddenly inside of a war that he didn't know how to fix, and all of a sudden he couldn't sit by and just sort of coast like he wanted to. There were some elements of this book which I think will really work for other people that didn't necessarily work for me. For me, I think the prose was simple. There was a lot of telling and not showing, which doesn't work for me a lot of the time. Some authors can really pull it off, but I think that this book and this author may have been still finding their feet with this particular entry. And I think it was published in 2011, so, it's been quite a few years. I'm very interested in the book that Phil Williams has got coming out in October. So while I won't continue on with this series, I think it was still a decent debut, if that was the case, and it was. But the story was easy enough to follow, had some nice moments, had a good message in it. The prose, in my opinion, was a little bit simplistic, and so was some phrases that were repetitive. There were some things in there that didn't need to be there, like a sex scene that was fairly unnecessary, and like that whole relationship with that person. But again, I sort of understand what the author was trying to do by establishing these relationships, even though it didn't really make sense to me to have them in the book at all, because the book would have been the same had they not been there, in my opinion. But I don't know, I had a decent time with it, I guess. I don't tend to I'm not a DNFer, but these days don't tend to pick up books that I'm going to dislike inherently. And if I did, maybe I would DNF it, but I didn't dislike this book at all. It was fine. And like I said, sitting around that 3-star mark, which is not a bad score, people. 3 stars is not a bad score. I will hopefully be moving on to Icebreaker this evening. I'm going to sit with my thoughts on Wixon's Day. I want to make sure I get like a proper review out and a critical review that also showcases the positives of the book, because somebody else might pick this up and really enjoy it. So that was book 1 for the SPSFC vlog. We'll move on to book 2 tonight and see what Icebreaker does for me. I just started Icebreaker from Stephen William Hanna, and I was super curious to read this person's work because they do a whole bunch of like first chapter thoughts on Twitter, and I was like, I'm really curious about this first chapter, given that you do this. Far out, was that a first chapter? That was this. I don't know what this book is about, but I'm so damn intrigued. We have a disease, apparently, that's like ripping through the lands, and people are calling this doctor named Bear to see if he can help, I think. But they run through a bunch of questions, and by going through these questions, the anxiety and the tension builds up as these questions are getting answered, and you realize that this person who is sick, so it's not the person who opens the door, it's his son, is really unwell, and it is not natural. It's like a supernatural phenomenon that is so dangerous, and this doctor like starts putting things to close off all of his senses, because he can't see it, he can't hear it, or he could be infected. We also have like a religious undertone, because people either believe in Christian or Gaia, I think would be how you pronounce it. And I'm just, that was a chapter 1. I am so excited to finish work and just crack on into this book. I don't think I've ever been more excited to be in an apartment by myself without any plans because I just want to read and find out what's going on here. Let's do a quick update on Icebreaker by Stephen William Hanna. So I'm currently at about 40% of the way through. I think I hit 40 or 45% last night. And I'm really enjoying it. It's very atmospheric, very sort of psychological. Like if you like a horror sci-fi situation, you're going to have a really good time here. So we're following this doctor who is like illegally researching the phenomenon, and basically if this phenomenon happens, you can't hear it, you can't see it, or you'll be infected by it, and you basically will be taken over by this thing, and in 7 days you'll die. And like the days, like each day has a different stage of infection, and like it's just horrific to go through it. At the moment we're following Bear as he goes on what's called a crawler, the Icebreaker, it is its name, to try and get a communication out to other people. We've just discovered that there are people called dreamers who think that being infected, they think that people are immune or can survive the infection of the phenomenon, and they're trying to actively infect people and stop communications going out to save people once this thing starts happening. Super spooky, super atmospheric. I didn't think I was reading any like really creepy books for October, but this has got a good creep factor, and I'm really enjoying it. Very excited to see where it goes. But yeah, right now I'm about to sit down, eat breakfast, and play Dave the Diver before work because I had a rest day from the gym, so I just went for a walk. I've got another walk planned tonight, meeting up with a friend to have dinner, and I have an hour and a half until I start work, and I've got to try and stop just logging in early for the sake of logging in early, doing like 10-hour days. I've already done my writing sprint. My writing sprint was it wasn't short. I did the writing sprint for the time, but the words I got down were like 300. I don't know what's happening in this chapter. I have another writing sprint tomorrow for half an hour to try and work it out. So we'll see. But that is what's happening today. So I'm about 90% of the way through Icebreaker. I'll finish it today. There's like an hour to go. And I just, like, my entire review can be summed up in, why do we keep adapting Marvel shit when awesome, very adaptable, very entertaining books like this exist? Why? I've read a couple of indie books this year where I've thought, wow, that would look friggin' amazing on a big screen, or even on the silver screen, you know, as a TV adaptation. Why? Why are film developers insisting on giving us the same shit when awesome stories exist? Anyway, I had such a good time with it. This Icebreaker has blown my friggin' mind, and I hope more people pick it up. It's not going to be a story for everyone, granted, but this author has really taken that concept that indie does so well, of the genre blend, of having fun with things, of just doing this mashup that works for them and taking those risks, and in my opinion they've absolutely paid off in this book. It's been amazing. So even though I really want to finish that book like this second, I do have to get ready for work. I just finished a writing sprint. We've finally hit 20,000 words. Now I say finally because I've been writing for a little while. I've had a few projects sort of start, peter out, two that I want to go back to and finish off, but I think this is the story that I need to tell first, and hitting that sort of quarter mark, because I don't think this book's going to be more than about 80,000 words. The new adult sci-fi, I wouldn't want to make it too large, and it's not my strong suit. Sorry, there's construction happening, but epics are not my strong suit, and I know that. So hitting 20k and hitting that quarter mark has been amazing. Such a good feeling. And like, shit just got interesting, so I'm looking forward to my writing sprint tomorrow. And I won't sit down and do it again today, even though I'm excited for it, because I want to keep that momentum building, and that's what Andy Peliquin taught me. So thank you, Andy, if you ever watch one of these. So yes, that's today. It's the last full day that I have in this apartment that I'm cat sitting for. I will be coming home, ordering dinner, and doing all my washing this evening on a Friday night, because I am a cool kid. Morning everyone, it is Saturday the 14th. I finished Icebreaker last night, and it had a super satisfying ending. You know, there's nothing like a good book that has a good ending, and one of my favorite things, like a cliffhanger is great. It is, because it makes you want to read the next book. But sometimes you want like a satisfying ending which is also kind of open-ended, so that you can be satisfied with where this book has stopped but still want to continue on with the series. And I think this book did that really well. So today I'll be going on to Three Rivers Plague by Zachary and Joshua Forbes, I want to say. I'm sorry if that's wrong. I'll put the picture up here. And yeah, I think I've got like 4 days to read it. But today is a very slow day for me. The only thing I've really got to do is I've got to go and vote on a referendum here in Australia, which is the dumbest thing because people should just have the right to live. Anyway, politics, won't get into it. And yeah, I've got to write a couple of reviews for SPSFC and read. I am not feeling the best in the old brain space today, so maybe just a day of chilling out and reading is what the doctor ordered. So yeah, I'll do that and I'll let you know my thoughts. It's very noisy out here at 6 a.m. in the morning. Okay, bye-bye. We've got some mango addicts in this household. They're all here, waiting to share the seed. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this one-handed, but normally they're pretty good at sharing this seed. Alright, ignore the broken drawer. Okay, Ari, come here. Alright, so we're all going to take a turn. We're going to... Okay, drooly butts. Ari's turn. Oh, good chomping. Okay. Ew. No, Freddy. Basil's turn. Basil doesn't quite understand the concept yet of just taking a little bit of flesh. Okay. And then we've got Greedy Guts over here. Freddy's turn. Don't take it. Good boy. Okay. Back to Ari. Well practiced. That's my finger. Bazzy. He's so gentle. And the cycle will go on. Good morning, everyone. It is the 17th. It is Tuesday, the 17th. The red in this room makes me look so red. Let's go back into the light. Okay. Now I don't look like... I still look red. I have rosacea. It's just a thing that happens. So, I was planning on reading 3 books before the 17th, and it just hasn't happened. I finished Wixon's Day. I finished Icebreaker. And I'm on Three Rivers Plague. So, I finished Valor this morning. Is that technically 3 books? I'm gonna call it a success. So I am about 41% of the way through of Three Rivers Plague. I am not gonna cut off the vlog now. I am gonna finish the book, and then I will do like final thoughts and wrap it up for the 3 SPSFC books that I read this month. I still have more to read for my allocation of books, so this is not the end of my SPSFC journey. These are just the 3 that I picked to read in this vlog. So 41% of the way through, I really quite like the way this book is structured. So we're dealing with essentially, for lack of a better term, zombie apocalypse type situation. We start at like a rock concert, and then the people who are playing on the stage realize that something is happening. Someone starts coughing up blood, and they're like, that's a bit weird, but they could just be on drugs. And then this green mist sort of comes down from the air, and more people start to get infected. They get ripped out of that situation and put on a Zeppelin to essentially live for a year before they're like, you know what, I probably need to go down and see what's happening. Some things happen in between, but I don't want to give spoilers away. So they're now sort of on the ground and they're trying to sort out what's happening. We've got like a mafia situation where we've got two different groups who are trying to control what's left of humanity, and also dealing with these zombies, or hunches is what they're called in this book. Very sort of high tension, high stakes. I like the way this book is sort of presented. So it's presented in, I think it's 9 episodes, and each episode is, I guess, a part on their journey. So we had like the Zeppelin thing was episode 1, and then they sort of come out of that and it progresses. So if you are someone who sort of likes The Walking Dead cross like Red Dead Redemption, the zombie one, that's what this book feels like. And it's a lot of fun, high tension, high stakes. Some of the action sequences seem a little bit repetitive to me. Some of the language seems a little bit repetitive to me. But overall, it's quite enjoyable and quite easy to read and get into. There's a lot of drug usage, so check your trigger warnings before you go into this one. But yeah, I'm having a good time so far, and I'll let you know more thoughts as we go along. It's probably the biggest book that I'll read for SPSFC. I think this one is about 566 pages, and the other two were between, I want to say 200 to 300 pages that I read. But because of course I'm trying to review these and do them justice, I'm reading them fairly slowly. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. I finished Valor this morning, which is John Gwynne. I feel very similarly about the second installment as I did the first one, where a lot of it is build up, and we're dealing with the character build up from the events in book 1, and about 80% of the book is just sort of progressing those storylines. We did have one more storyline in there which I really enjoyed, but for the most part I'm still like all Corbin and Cohen. That's just where I want to know about. But I think Gwyn did quite a good job in this book of building up the two sides, the two main sides that we're following, because while there are other characters in play, other things happening to the side, we are very much sort of still following this prophecy and the two sides of the Black Sun and the Bright Star. So the beliefs around that, some conversations around different people thinking they're the same thing and acting in ways that they think are justified because of their beliefs, which is always interesting. I always enjoy that sort of conversation in books, but this is super entertaining, very classic fantasy. Yeah, had a good time with it. Probably ended on about a 4-star for Valor as well. I'm hoping the next 2 books pick up because I've heard really good things. Yeah, that's where we're at for reading. Alright, let's do an update. It is currently the 20th, hello Basil, of October. What month are we in? What's happening right now? I'm 70% of the way through of Three Rivers Plagues. I have not read a whole bunch in the last couple of days. Work, life, home life, it's all a little bit wild. Ari's jealous of Basil getting pats. And someone you can see got into the veggie garden and took some fur off her face. Life's been wild trying to sort of sort out this house for Mum and Dad. Like, they're doing everything, but it's trying to make myself available to help them with this move and the drama of, you know, Rachel and I staying here and what we need realistically to survive for a couple of weeks, or probably be about 8 weeks, I guess, until we go. So we have an official date for Perth. We will be leaving this house on the 7th. We thought it was the 5th of January, but something happened, but it's now the 7th. All the accommodation is booked. We've got her booked into a vet to get anti-anxiety stuff. So yeah, are you demanding? Okay. Yes, Three Rivers Plagues, 71%. I feel like the book is coming to the end of it. I think a few of these sections were a little bit long for what they needed to be, but I still think the concept is really cool. The idea of the episodes is really cool to me as well, and each sort of thing being somewhat different, but a progression of the story. I'm enjoying it. I'm probably sitting around a 3.5 for it at the moment. Like, it's enjoyable. It could have been shorter. Some of the really heavy drug use isn't for me personally, but that's a me thing more than a book thing. I think it's pretty easy to read, just my brain is a bit kerfuffled at the moment. That's why I'm reading it slowly, because this is for a competition and I want to make sure that I'm giving it the justice that it needs to, and only picking it up when my brain is going to retain that information. So I think for the rest of the month, once this book is done, and it might take me another couple of days in all honesty, I'm hoping to have it finished this weekend and then close off this vlog so I can do like another SPSFC vlog next month with some more reads there. I think I'm going to switch it up and go to novellas. So just spend the rest of the month with a few short reads that don't take a whole lot of commitment from me. Nothing is bad that's happening in my world right now. It's just a lot. Rachel and I also have a couple of trips coming up in November, so the time frame for us getting everything sorted in this house, leaving for Perth and trying to get all this shit done is closing in. But yeah, anyway, that's a little bit of an insight to what I've been reading, which is just the same book that I talked about last time, and what's going on in my world. So I'm going to go get ready for work. I'm still in the office most of the time at the moment, which means commuting and whatnot. I am going to start Ruin today. Is that the third Faithful and the Fallen book? It's about 18 hours, and I've got 2 audiobooks I want to get done by the end of November, so I'm going to start this one a little bit early. I just want to show you my dog, everyone. That's how she sleeps. I finally finished 3 Rivers Plague by Zach and Josh Forbes. I ended up having a pretty decent time with it. I think the amount of genre blending got a little bit convoluted at times, and there was like a lot to take in any given scene, like at a couple of times in the book. But if you're a fan of like The Walking Dead, if you like Red Dead Redemption, I think I might have said this before, the zombie one with a touch of like World War Z, then you're going to have a good time here. If you just like a zombie story that's sort of fun, entertaining for the sake of being entertaining, I really like the way this story was presented with the 9 episodes. I think for me, some parts were definitely too long. Like I think it could have been maybe 100 to 150 pages shorter. Because we kept going back to the same location. So something would happen, we'd already been in a location, we had to go back to that location to do something else. And like we hopped between like the same locations a few times, and I think that it could have been tightened up a little bit, where maybe we're in that location once or twice, but like not 3 or 4 times, going back to the lab. But yeah, I think it was executed quite well. I really liked the episodes that we got. Another thing I'll say is, if you're a character-driven reader at the heart of it, you may struggle a little bit here. It was definitely, sort of for me at least, it felt more plot-heavy than character-heavy. I didn't really care about a lot of the characters, even though they all went through quite a lot. And I think towards the end of the book, the character work got stronger as we started to uncover some of the backstories between the characters. But I still, like, there are a lot of characters, it's a zombie book, a lot of people died, and I was like, that sucks for them. There was one in particular where I thought that the character could have been built up a lot more for that death to be quite impactful, and it fell a bit short for me. That being said, I think this is a pretty entertaining novel, and if you like zombie stories, you're going to have a good time here. It reads pretty fast. There's some really cool horror sequences, horror elements, but yeah, it was an alright, it was a pretty good read. I'd probably sit around the 3.5 mark for this one. That is it for my, I spelt lunch, don't look at it. I am done for my SPSFC vlog for October. I have another handful of books to get through for my slush pile, so who knows what the outcome of this thing is going to be, but I'm enjoying my time as a judge. I didn't quite realize how much work was involved as a judge, and we've only sort of just started now, but I'm interested to see how the competition goes. Maybe it's on my radar to be a SPFBO judge next year if a group will have me. Who knows? But I'm enjoying the process so far. That's the vlog. If you like it, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.